Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Beyond the Sewing Room. I'm Diane. So today I thought I'd share a little book review video, so something a little different today. Don't worry, I'll be back to the sewing soon if that's what you're here for. But I thought I'd just share a few because I've read quite a few recently, and a couple, well, one's gone back to the library, two's gone back to the library actually, and one has been loaned out to a friend. So I haven't got that here in the hard copy, but I will insert some images. And I've really enjoyed what I've been reading recently, apart from one, which was not to my taste, and I might like some advice on this actually, because there's quite a few other books by this author. So maybe I'm missing something, or maybe it's just not my genre, but I didn't enjoy, I'm going to get straight into it, Kafka on the Shore. So I started reading this book by Murakami, I think I've said that correctly, and I really enjoyed sort of the first 100 pages. I was into it straight away, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing. I thought, oh, this is going to be fabulous. I was even telling my son about it, that I'm really enjoying it, and I took it away on holiday with me, and I read it all on holiday within a few days. But I have to say, the last part of the book, of reading it all within a few days, was pretty much because I just wanted to be done with it. So Kafka, so it's this young man who runs away, and he changes his name to Kafka. That's not his actual name, he changes his name to that. And a series, if you've read it you already know this, but a series of events take place, and it is very sort of surreal. So at first, when the book started getting a little bit strange, I thought, oh, this is really interesting, I wonder where this is going, and I was enjoying it. But then things just seemed to get increasingly odd, and I felt quite disturbing in places. And any of you who have read it, the thing with the Johnny Walker and the whole cats business just put me right off for a start. If you haven't read it, you'll not know what I'm talking about, but you don't need to. Just really odd. Now, is this what you call magical surrealism? I don't know, maybe it's just not for me, because I just found it just got very strange. A lot of it I found very unnecessary, and also a lot of the description just, I mean, obviously we need description in a book, and he clearly does it very well, but I felt it went overboard in places and just dragged on and on because I was that fed up with it. But it was one of those, I was so far in, I wanted to finish it because I wanted to see where it would go, but the end was just, ugh, is that it? So I know probably it's much loved, it's a much loved book. There's probably lots of people that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine because we all like different things. But I did want to read Norwegian Wood, and I had put this on my sort of wish list for an upcoming birthday, and also this was when I first started reading Kafka on the Shore. Now, is that much better? Will I enjoy that more? I mean, he's got so many books out there, maybe I've just read one that just wasn't for me, but this has sort of put me off reading anymore. So if any of you out there are a big fan, I would love to know, and please let me know if I've just picked one that's not for me, and if maybe I'll like Norwegian Wood, and maybe that one will be for me. But I thought I'd get that one out of the way to start with, because I did read that quite a number of weeks ago now. So I meant to sort of review it at the time, and then I forgot. So that's the first one. And then the next one I really enjoyed, which was probably more my thing, but it was Blackberry and Wild Rose by Sonia Velton. And I really love this because it's historical, but at the same time you've got elements in there where it's based on real events and sort of real things that took place at the time. And being into sewing and textiles and everything around that, it's about the silk weavers of the period. So it begins, I've wrote myself some notes because it was a few weeks ago now, I didn't want to get it wrong. It begins in 1768 in London, and we have Esther Thorell, and she meets Sarah. Now she meets Sarah in the street, and in a way she rescues her from her life, of the life that she's found herself in. And she didn't end up in this life, she ends up working in a brothel. She didn't end up in that life by her own choosing. It was just what happened to her. You could say she was trafficked in London at that time, and due to their meeting, Esther Thorell gets her out of this life. And it's about the two ladies. So you've got the two stories, as often goes on in a novel, two stories running alongside one another. The story of Esther a wealthy lady and everything that surrounds her life, a marriage which is not particularly happy, but she's a well-to-do lady. And then you've got the life of a normal working woman who finds herself in really unfortunate circumstances and what their lives look like. But a backdrop to this is the silk weaving industry of that time, and the silk weavers were called journeymen, and the upper class well-to-do people sort of own the looms and own the business side of it, while as it always has been really, while the working people do all the work, and a lot of them are very talented, very hard working, but they don't often see the fruits of their labour, do they? So that's sort of the backdrop to it, and it's a wonderful story, and I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. And then also looked into Esther was actually based loosely, I found, she was loosely based on Anna Maria Garthwaite, who is an actual sort of silk weaving designer of that period, which was very unheard of for women to be doing this kind of thing back then. But the fact that her character was based on a real person, and some of the events that take place were actually based on events that took place at that time. So I love anything like that where you can sort of look into it and find out a little bit more about the history about it and the research that goes into a book like this. I just think it's wonderful. So that's why I like historical ones, especially if they're based on sort of factual things and things that you can research further really. So that was that. So I really gave that 5 out of 5. So that was a great one. Now, another one that I read that I wasn't entirely sure of, but I still read it and I powered through it, was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Now, this is not my usual sort of thing again, but I did have it on order for almost a year, I think it was, from the library. And I really wanted to read it just purely because of what he'd accomplished. And he'd accomplished such a lot from his background. He's very much into the pain. You have to have the pain sort of thing. And I know that nothing comes without effort and putting a lot of work in if you want to succeed at anything. But it gets to the point in this sort of biography where it is just all about seeking out pain all the time. And it just gets a bit tiresome. So at the beginning, I really enjoyed it because the way he got through things to become, sort of SEAL, Army Ranger, there was something else as well. He got through the training for different things. I think he's the only person to get through the training for these 3 different military. This was weeks ago, this is why I'm a bit vague at the moment, because I had enough by the time I got to the end of it. The way he got through it, I mean, he got set back, knocked back, failed, knocked back, failed, knocked back, just carried on going until he got through each of these tasks that he wanted to accomplish and got where he needed to be. That is amazing. With such a hard thing where you're going through such physical trials, it's just, I think it's amazing. It's an amazing feat to do that. But it came to the point where in the book where he's just seeking out more ways to hurt himself. That's what I found anyway. And I think there comes a point where, okay, it might be difficult to achieve these things and people who achieve them are amazing and incredible. You do need to enjoy your life as well. It can't all be about inflicting pain on yourself, and that's what I took away from it. So it's a fascinating read, but I did find that halfway through I was just skim reading because it just felt like more of the same towards the end. So that's that one. So that's not a novel, that's just something that I was interested in that I ordered from the library, and I'm glad that I read it. But yes, I didn't enjoy sort of the last 100 pages or so because I'd sort of had enough by then. So that was that. Now the next one is very famous. I'm going to hold it up here because I have got the hard copy because I bought myself this one. I bought myself this one from 8 Books. I got the 50th anniversary edition. It's The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. And the reason I got myself the 50th anniversary edition, I think it is nice to get these sometimes, because I've got the 50th anniversary edition of To Kill a Mockingbird, so I thought this would be nice. Now, if you know the background to this story, again, this is sort of autobiographical in that it sort of follows Sylvia Plath's life, and that is really harrowing. So thinking about her mental state, in that she ended up taking her own life when she was so young, it's not an easy read because you're really getting a first-hand insight into what's going through someone's mind who feels like this and who's struggling with their mental health. So to say enjoyed it, it was well written and it was fascinating. That's what I'm going to say about it. Now this next one, again, I loved it. It's historical fiction, but again based on some real facts. So it's called The Night Ship by Jess Kidd, and I've read others by Jess Kidd and I have those on my bookshelf. I have bought them for myself. Now this one I found in a charity shop and I'm so pleased with it. I mean, I found Blackberry and Wild Rose in a charity shop also, but my friend's borrowing that one at the moment, and that's also a hardback one. And I paid just £2 for it, and if you love books you'll understand this, what I'm going to show you. Just look at the inside. So that's the inside cover. And then even the dust jacket is beautiful. It's in pristine condition and I paid £2 for it. I just love it, and the fact that I loved the story as well. So The Night Ship, this is about a ship that set sail from, so it's 1628, and it was a ship by the Dutch East India Company. So it was taking merchandise, so it's a trading ship, but it was also taking passengers there. So the young girl who is on board, so she's called Macon, is going to live with her father, and her mother has just died, so she's going with her nurse, or what we would call her nanny. She's going to live with her father, and it's such a long journey. There's loads of people on board, all going from the same place. And parallel to that, you've also got the story in 1989 of Gil, a boy who's also lost his mother, and he's going to live with his grandfather. Now his grandfather lives off the Australian coast on the islands that, now I'm not going to tell you any more at that point because it's going to be a spoiler. Now don't look into the ship. Now the ship is called the Batavia or the Batavia, I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it, but that ship really did set sail. And lots of the events that I mentioned in this book, they took place. Don't research it before you read it, or else it might be a bit of a spoiler for some of the things that happen. But it's really good to look into afterwards. So after I'd read this, I did watch a few YouTube videos. So there's one called, I think it's called Strange But True or something like that. I've got it saved. I'll have to have a look and then pop it in the notes. That has lots of different Scary True. Lots of little stories about different things that took place that are a little bit odd or a little bit strange or things like that. Some of them I probably wouldn't watch, but because this one was related to the history of this, I did watch it, and I watched it while I was doing the ironing. Was it last week or the week before? So I love anything like that where you can have a look at what actually happened. So a good historical background to it. It's been very well researched. Again, you've got two stories running along side by side, but one's in the 17th century and one is in the 80s. And it's these two children and their lives are just going along, and you're just flipping back between the two of them. And it's just brilliant. I love the way that she's done it. It's an excellent story. I would really recommend, so if you can get your hands on this one from a library or anywhere, or buy it for yourself, put it on your birthday or Christmas wish list. So The Night Ship, beautiful book, highly recommend. Now this next one, probably most of you have already read it because I think I'm quite late to the party with this one. So it's Richard Osman, The Thursday Murder Club. Now I know there's other books out now in this series, so I'm probably really late getting this one, but I found this again in the charity shop. I just happened to pick it up. I thought I could read it and my mum could read it, and then we'd see if we liked it. So I gave it to my mum first of all because I was already reading something else, and my mum, the next time I saw her, gave it me back and said I only read 50 pages and it was boring me to tears. So really blunt. But I said, oh, right. She said, no, didn't like it at all. I was really bored. And my mum's 86. And then I've read it and I absolutely loved it. I was just chuckling away to myself all the way through it. I think it's an excellent idea for a story. So you've got the home where the old people are living, if you've not read it already, and they have this Thursday Murder Club, and they get involved with local crime and a couple of local police officers, and all kinds of things are going on, and the characters of the people in this home are just absolutely just amazing, heartwarming. I mean, the things that come up within it as well about aging and sort of losing yourself and then finding yourself again, and the way that they do that with this Thursday Murder Club is really lovely. So I really enjoyed it. I'm sure you've all probably read it already if you're into books, but I just wanted to mention it. So yeah, a great one, and I'm sure I'll be reading more by Richard Osman. Now I'm currently reading The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Now I've read Hamnet and I really enjoyed that, so I thought I'd really enjoy this. Again, another charity shop find. So as soon as I spotted it, I thought I'll have that one because I know I enjoyed the other one. So this is about Lucrezia, so it's set in the Italian Renaissance, and the story is going back and forth between at the point where she is married to her duke and the point where she was a child and her childhood and everything leading up to when she was married. So she was married to him, but he was betrothed to her sister who died. And then when she was only 12, they decided, well, we'll have the younger sister instead, because as they did in those days, they wanted to bind the two families together, two wealthy, powerful families. So it's everything that she's going through, not wanting this marriage to take place. And she's a very willful, wild child as well, which is really lovely and fascinating to read about. She likes art, she likes to be out doing her own thing. She's not the same as her brothers and sisters, and you really get the feel for that. And then flick back to sort of years later, where she is with her husband, and the first thing you see in the first, this happens within the first few pages, so it's not a spoiler, is that she has a feeling that he's going to kill her, and this happens really early on. So he's took her away from their home to a place he loves. They're in this grand old building, and she has the feeling, why has he brought me here? He intends to kill me. So I'm sort of 100 pages in. I'm really loving it. Can't say much more about it right now because that's as far as I've got. But the writing is excellent. So every time I start reading a little bit more, I'm completely in there. I'm in that time. I'm in that world, which is what you want. So I'm really enjoying this at the moment. So I just thought I'd mention that. So I've not finished it, but I thought I'd mention that one. Now the next one that I've got to show you may be of more interest to you if you're here for the making and the sewing side of it. It's a big book, and I had my eye on it for a little while, but I saw it in Waterstones and it was very expensive. But then I got it from Ed Books again for £4, including postage. I don't know how they do it. So it's William Morris. Isn't that beautiful? It's very heavy. So I love this because it's all about William Morris. You've got the history, so you've got something to read, but then you've got all his gorgeous designs and sort of Morris & Co, so they're not just his designs, they're his whole team. You've got the designs, the wallpaper, facts about them, fabrics, but the story of him and how it all came about. So it's just beautiful. So I'll just show you. I'll show you more on the table. I'll open this up and give you a better idea in a moment. Just in the contents page, I'm just going to show you the contents page because it's just such a beautiful book. So here we are. I've got my bookmarking because I'm just working my way through it. I'm reading it like you would just read a novel, basically. So you've got all the patterns in the introduction, but then as you move through it, so look, we've got Life and Work, section 1. And if you can get your hands on this for a decent price, I highly recommend getting this one. So Morris's background. So how he got into pattern design, but he was interested in all kinds of things, and he was quite proficient at lots of things too. Poetry as well, and you get all the background to it, but you've got all the gorgeous designs all the way through the book. It tells you what they're called, whether they were fabric or wallpaper or tapestries. And in most places you've got a full page spread like that on one side, and in some places you've got a double page spread. But they're all in there. So you've got something beautiful, visual to look at, and then you've got all this history in the middle. So let me see if I can just find you a double page. And then there's beautiful paintings in here as well from like Rossetti and so on, who were friends and who he was in business with for a while and who influenced a lot of what he did, and they were both in love with the same woman. But, so we've got paintings in there as well. It's all about the arts and crafts movement. I just love it. I mean, when it arrived, my husband did say, oh, I just feel like it's one of those books that's just going to get flipped through and then popped on a shelf. Well, that's not happened, because I'm just reading it, taking it all in, and just staring at the patterns. So, Artist, Craftsman, Pioneer, and it's by R. Ormiston and N.M. Wells. So a £4, what a bargain. I mean, what is the price on the inside cover? Let me see. I think it's about £20, but I don't know how long ago this was. I think when I saw it in Waterstones, I think it was more than £20. So, I mean, if you really want it, and it was a Christmas gift, then I suppose £20 is not that. I'm a bit at buying things for myself. I tend to pick them up, put them back, don't get them, and my husband will say, well, why didn't you get it if you really wanted it? But I tend to shop around, and if I can get it second hand like this, it doesn't look second hand, it looks brand new. I just love it. So that is the final one that I'm talking about today. I hope that was interesting. If you've read any of those books, please let me know what your thoughts were, especially Kafka on the Shore, because I want to know if any more of the Murakami books are worth reading, or if that was just me. So that's all for today. Something a little different, I know. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.